Guys, so like I was saying, I wanted to put together a video. I'll probably have a part one, part two, maybe a part three, because he definitely said a lot of very questionable things that I don't think people should have overlooked. And they definitely should take threats of any kind serious. So I'm going to just put together a few of his moments, okay, in this one. And I'll probably have to work on it as part two, because I know for sure there are some conversations that I'm leaving out. Um, but I wanted to show you guys that women have a right to feel the way they do about this person. Um, the fact that people try to attach celebrity to somebody like this is highly disturbing as well. But I digress. I mean, I guess it's like I said, people wanted to act like this is some type of culture within the black community. But I digress. I also added in these stats because he was often saying things that he really couldn't back up where he was getting the information from as far as single mothers and wealth. I felt like he was definitely just playing on stereotypes of the images that we do see. However, there is no black wealth in America. I think a lot of people try to explain that in their videos as well, not just me. There is no black wealth in America. There's 11 in all of America, 11 billionaires that are black. And most of them, you guys know who they are. Most people know who they are. So I don't even have to go through the list. I think only two people on that list are come out of corporate America or the business world, if you will. But everybody else is an entertainer. Okay. And when you start going into middle class and working class, there's a huge gap still between the black community and other communities. And that's because there's so much stuff that's going on within our community, within our box. No one else has a problem being in that box, in their box, but for whatever reason, black people have to have a problem with being in theirs. And so it kind of lets you know it's a lot of stuff that's going on. So I did add these statistics in here about unemployment and wealth, so people can get a clear understanding that there was really no reason for him to hold the conversations that he was holding anyway. Because like I said in one of my older videos, most people are going to meet people where they are, right? Most people are going to meet people where they are. So that's just being honest. That's not always the case. That's not always how people's life path is going to, end up. I'm not saying just because you're in one situation that you can't find yourself in another, because I know that life is complicated and is more complex than the way people like to play it out in these YouTube videos. But yeah, so you're gonna hear him touch on a lot of things, and I want to say, this is a bit of a trigger warning, I should say it that way, because some of this stuff is disturbing, in particular the conversations around children. So, but yeah, I just want to let you guys hear some of the stuff he was saying, since people were trying to pretend like he was not saying these things. And in part two, I'll get more into that beauty conversation, because he had a lot to say about how black women should accept the fact that they're at the bottom of the barrel, if you will, and that they should not expect certain men to marry them. They should expect to stay where they are based on the way they look. The only way you could get out of that is if you were biracial or light skin. And I don't really think that he even had that much respect even for them, but he was saying these women could get out of their situations just based on their looks. So I'll come back to that in part two, because I think that he was using that conversation a lot in the beginning, and then he kind of stopped and went off into this whole single motherhood. And I think he and some of the other guys in the Black manosphere, they were all doing that, holding these conversations around single mothers. And never around how the fathers are responsible. And the only time they would talk about responsibility from a man is when they were talking of this Pookie and Ray Ray, which he is himself, because he avoided responsibility for his daughter. So yeah, I'll come back with part 2. I'll see you guys in the next video.
I were to get married, you got a daughter, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say we have 2 kids together, mm-hmm. and your child is 5. So 10 years from now, your daughter comes home and said, Kevin touched, looked at me getting out of the shower. What happens next?
The relationship would have to end.
Huh?
That's not something the relationship would end immediately.
Because your daughter said I looked at her getting out of the shower. Kevin touched, looked at me getting out of the shower. Kevin touched, looked at me getting out of the shower. So that means I should never listen to it. That means I should avoid women like you, because off the rip, your desire to defend your child blew up. You got 2 of my kids, and off rip, your protective instinct says everything, including those other 2 kids.
Understood.
Do you?
Mm-hmm. No,
you said the relationship would have to end. So what would you tell our 2 children?
That's a tough situation.
No, you said the relationship would have to end. So
it would have to end, because
but what would you tell
any of my kids? If I had 3 kids, 1 by someone else and 2 by my
But what I'm telling you, what I'm saying is what we tell our 2 children.
It comes to a situation and we have to part ways.
You get the fuck out. You can get the fuck out.
Because I'm not the one paying the bills.
No, because you're not taking my kids. Mm-hmm. See, that's what I mean. Y'all act like y'all got too much power.
It's not power. I'm
First of all, you didn't even. First off, you didn't even. I just said if she said it, you didn't even question whether or not the claim was there. Mm-hmm. Because that's your child. That's what I'm saying. Your child can never be an asset to anybody. Ask you to treat your child like it's biologically mine, when you be willing to blow up my biological children's shit for something else. And kids can say anything.
They can, but you have to protect your kids at all costs.
Then
you got to talk.
Then no. Mm-hmm. Leave. No.
Was written by Donovan Sharp, and that is Donovan right there sitting next to Kevin Samuels. That is Donovan sitting next to Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels is an image consultant, so-called image consultant, who is very aware of his image and his likeness and who he associates with. Here he is sitting with Donovan Sharp. So what did Donovan Sharp say about abuse and punishment? I'm not going to read the whole article. I'm going to scroll to the bottom. Remember, this is the website that Kevin Samuels promoted on the Joe Budden podcast. I'm going to scroll to the bottom and read. And this man said, women respect abusive men infinitely more than non-abusive men. Women respect abusive men infinitely more than non-abusive men. This is what Donovan Sharp said. He is sitting next to Kevin Samuels. This website is owned by O'Shea Duke. You guys can read it for yourself. And let me read this last paragraph before I continue. It says, as far as men who are actual abusers, they get more sex, loyalty, and favorable treatment from their women. They know that if they cross the line, she's getting a left cross to the jaw. Right or wrong, moral or immoral, this is how women are. Respect is one of the most important elements when it comes to arousal and loyalty. For better or worse, men who put their hands on women get more respect than men who don't. This is on the negromanosphere.com. This was written by Donovan Sharp. Donovan Sharp is sitting next to Kevin Samuels. The definition of influence: the capacity to have an effect on the character development or behavior of someone or something or the effect itself. These men are influencing other men to be violent.
Shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson. He runs a website. The women today don't fear what Sean Connery told Barbara Walters. There are times when the best course of action is to slap a woman. That's what Sean Connery said. It's still on YouTube right now. Go look at it. And Barbara Walters was like, thought he was going to recant his statement, and he doubled down. He said, let me explain what I mean. He's like, women have a way of not knowing how to let things go. You can give up the argument. You can let it go. They can know they've won. There's nothing else to be gained, and they will continue to push and push and push. And he said, at that point, once you've exhausted all other options, then a slap becomes a good option. And you only have to do it once. Shahrazad Ali tried to say that stuff, and it set the black community on fire. How many times do we hear that women out here dealing with all this abuse? I'm going to do the show on abuse next week because I'm tired of hearing this bullcrap. I do not see women being abused. I don't see women. I don't see black women being physically abused. Never really have. I'm going to just say it. I never really have seen black women being abused. In my entire life, I have known of one woman, and that was one of my mother's friends back in the 70s. One. And she and her husband, or she and her man, they would fight each other. One. Emotional abuse. I will tell you, the emotional abuse comes from women to men. That shows we don't need you. The only thing we need you for is reproduction. We want you for sex. But see, even then, a lot of times those guys had pages or squires.
Kevin.
Men should accept this stuff because women chose to get fat and don't work out. They're not exercising. They're not watching their diet. They're not doing what men want. So men should accept it. And I want you guys to understand it. What she won't say is, you better accept this because if you don't, you ain't got nothing else. Guys, stop having sex with overweight women. Leave them alone.
Huh?
You have a big dick?
I mean, it's above average. I ain't no Ron Jeremy.
No. I asked you if you had a big dick. I didn't say it was above average.
I don't know what that is, really.
You know if you got a big dick or not. Stop the bullshit. Every dude know whether or not he got a big dick. I know I got a big dick. You don't know?
I mean,
you don't have a big dick. That's the point. You don't have a big dick. You don't have a big wallet. You're a fat dude. And you got a lot of nerve thinking you should get choosing signals at 5'10" and 300 pounds, making less than $1,000 a month at 20 years old. And women should approach you. What they get, they don't even get a big dick.
Kevin.
What the heck just happened here? Somebody's sleeping in the bed. For men who want to be with men. I understand the impulse, brothers. I do.